Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Phoemela Nicholle H. Ponce. You can just call me Nicole. And I will be discussing the presentation media section of Module 1 for Section C. So, what is this even? Okay, so presentation media are materials that audiences are exposed to through sight, through hearing, or both. So, they are very, very useful in reaching larger audience and more varied audiences to be exact. So they are very useful when object media is impractical for relaying information to audience. Okay, so here are further information or the key differences that this three types of media has. So for presentation media, in simple terms, these are materials that you can see here or both. They are good for reaching bigger audience, and these are mainly used for spreading awareness and information widely because of its reach. So examples of these are posters, radio, film, video programs, publications, and the likes. Now for object media, you have to have hands-on materials. You have to touch, hold, or examine the materials in this type. So these are usually best for small groups. And then we also have here interactive media. So from its name, interactive. So these are materials where audience can actually join in or respond to, not just watch or listen. So yeah, for this presentation specifically, we will be focusing on presentation media. So to further classify what presentation media is, we have this table. So for spatial, the use of the eyes is needed. So these are for pictures, illustrations, slides, posters, billboards, exhibits, flip charts, graphs, chalkboards, and the likes. Your eyes have to work in order for you or in order for the audience to really know what the context or the concept or the whole material is all about. For temporal, it's hearing. So this includes radios or audio cassettes, if that's still even available. So for temporal, you have to hear it. Your ears has to work in order for you to fully understand the whole material. Now we have spatial and temporal. So both the ears and the eyes should work together in order for you to fully understand what the concept is or what the material is all about. So we have here dramas, puppetry, demonstrations, video programs, or any other movies or anything that's in the television and the likes. Okay, so we also have here timeless. So for timeless, these are materials that people can keep for a long time, like manuals, comic books, memorabilia, fact sheets, manuals, and the likes. And then we also have here time-bound. As you can see here, the examples in here. So these are bulletins, circulars, newsletters, magazine or newspapers. And if you would notice, the common denominator in here is that these are timely materials. So yeah, it's time-bound. So next, I will be discussing the types of presentation media that we have. So this is very self-explanatory, but I would just like to share more examples of these presentation media. So first, we have here pictures, illustration, slides, and transparency. Very visual for this sample, for this type. However, the disadvantage is that it's not really very effective for very large audiences, especially if there are no words used, just plain pictures. Next, we have here posters and billboards. So these are good for making announcements, creates awareness about innovations, and it's really highly visible outdoors. There are people who are not really that fond of watching televisions, and they are usually on their toes, on their feet, outside the house, and billboards and posters are really helpful in terms of disseminating information to those kinds of people. We also have bulletin boards or displays and exhibits. What's nice about bulletin boards is that it allows combination of different visual materials clumped together as one. Just like in here. These are different posters clumped together as one in one bulletin board. And people can just go there and look at whatever they're looking for in here. Next, we have here flip charts or flannel graphs. So This is an example of a flip chart or flannel graph. As you can see, this can be very bulky to carry around. That's one disadvantage. Just imagine yourself bringing this one every time you're going to present something. However, this is still used, especially by NGOs, whenever they go to far-flung areas, especially in the mountains or yeah, far-flung areas in the provinces. Okay, so next we have here graphs and charts. So graphs and charts can really be advantageous, especially if you are presenting numbers or data, quantitative data to be exact. With graphs and data, it's very straightforward to be able to interpret these numbers easier. However, not too many are a fan of graphs and charts, especially those people who hates math. If people hates numbers, they might get overwhelmed just by seeing the graph itself. So you have to be very careful in presenting graphs and charts or when choosing this as a material when you are presenting something. You have to know whether or not your audience would actually be able to understand or be able to interpret or read these graphs. Okay, next we have here chalkboard and whiteboard. Of course, this is usually used in schools, community meetings, and yeah, great for discussions because you can just write whatever you want to write on the board. However, this can be bulky, just like the flip charts, because the concept is the same. So you can see it looks the same as well. It's just that this one is more stationary. This one you can carry around, but this one you cannot. Okay, so next we have here the radio. So radio is very effective in influencing rural audiences. This can reach areas with limited electricity or the internet. Signal-wise, radio is still the number one preferred media. Okay, so next we have here audio cassettes. So if you're not familiar with what audio cassettes are, this is an example of what an audio cassette is. So as you can see, it's very handy, very portable. However, one of the disadvantages is that, of course, it may not be available today anymore. So I remember using cassettes way back when I was, I think, 3 years old, up until I was 5 or 6, because my dad is an OFW in the Middle East. And in order for us to remember his voice, he would send to us cassette tapes with his voice recording, reading us bedtime stories. And we would listen to it through cassettes. So next we have here drama. So a lot of Filipinos are a fan of dramas. I mean, obviously, um, because of course it engages emotions and participation, and it's really more relatable for people when they see dramas because of course issues are more relatable and memorable for them. Next, we have here puppetry. Puppets are usually very, very useful for kids. It captures their attention, memorable for them, really. However, this can be time consuming and costly because you don't only build the puppet, you also have to build a stage for it so that it is more eye-catching and memorable for its audience, especially if the audience are kids, and puppets are usually used for kids. Next, we have demonstrations. So I myself personally am a fan of demos because I'm a highly visual person. I learn by watching, and demonstrations are very, very useful for that. I myself would always go to YouTube and watch demos because I can directly see how people use something or do something. Next, we have here sound slide set. This combines visual sounds for facts, dramas, or step-by-step lessons and can simplify complex information. However, one disadvantage of this is that it needs equipment and is costly to produce because, of course, there are sounds involved, visuals, and the likes. And finally, we have here video programs, motion pictures, or television. So just like dramas, one advantage is that this kind of material is realistic, engaging, and replayable, and can reach very, very large audiences. However, it is very expensive to produce these kinds of materials. Next, we go to the presentation media in our everyday lives. This very presentation that I am doing right now, the slides that I'm showing you, the visuals in here, and the explanation that I'm doing through this video, this is already a form of presentation media. I myself, I am a freelancer, and in my work, I do service pitches, I do Canva graphics, marketing decks, and these are all presentation media. For you, if you are a corporate employee, during your office meetings, you have PowerPoint decks, you have charts, you have whiteboard notes. Those are already presentation media. Social media posts, the Instagram infographics that you see every day, the Facebook advocacy videos, the news posts that you see, the everyday scrolling that you do in social media, the things that you see there, those are presentation media already. In the community setting, the barangay bulletin boards that I was mentioning earlier, the church announcements, the school exhibits, and bulletin boards as well. And for entertainment and learning, the dramas that we usually watch, the puppet shows that they have, or even the DepEd modules that were presented during the pandemic, these are all examples of uh, presentation media. If you would notice, it's all around us, guiding us how we learn, how we decide, and how we act. So, yeah, to close this presentation, we can actually just say that presentation media are not just classroom concepts. They are tools we encounter daily, and they play a big role in informing, persuading, and inspiring people. The challenge for us as DevCom professionals or development communication students is to choose the right medium for the right audience. So our message don't just reach people, but actually make an impact, just like what I was mentioning earlier. So there, thank you, and I look forward to learning with you all. And I do hope you learned something from my presentation right now. My group mates have further information on the next sections of Module 1, and I do hope you check it out.